Welcome to the Women's Connection. I'm Barrie-Louise Switzen, your moderator. The Women's Connection is a program about events shaping women's lives and helping one gain authentic power on a personal or professional level. So won't you stay tuned? We've all been envious of somebody at one time or another, whether they've had the ideal job and we say, oh, I want that. How did they ever get it? Or they have a fabulous family, a wonderful husband, children, all the works, and we say, that's what I would like. With me is Dr. Adrian Calabresse, and she's going to show us and tell us how we can get this for ourselves. Adrian, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
In your book, How to Get Everything You Ever Wanted, you wrote about how things happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
You were unemployed, and yet you wound up driving a car. How did this happen?
You know, that's such a wonderful question, because that's how I start the book out. How did this happen to you, people say. Well, I was a starving actor in New York and going to auditions, and I was in debt up to my ears. I was charging my rent on credit cards.
Wow.
I was $30,000 in debt on my credit cards because I had no money. I had very few jobs. I wasn't getting the parts, and I was working part-time as an adjunct professor, but that pays, you know, an actor's salary pretty much. So it was really a difficult time for me, and I thought something is wrong here in my life. If I can't seem to make my life work, what is it I'm not doing that I should be doing? And I did a lot of soul searching, and I thought, well, there has to be a way, because people do it. If I'm of the ilk that says, if you can do it, I can do it. So I saw...
Just like the song.
Yeah, and I saw other people doing it. You know, other people were achieving things, and I couldn't even achieve the small things. I needed a car. My poor old car was conking out because I was driving from Connecticut to New York to auditions, and it was just a terrible time trying to drive to the school to teach and back. And I thought there has to be another way. And at the time, I was really interested in spiritual studies. And I had heard people say, you know, there is a great power that you can access, and you can use that power to achieve your dreams. But it was all very out there to me. It wasn't real. And I decided that I was going to explore this thing, because I was definitely not a believer.
Okay, so what did you do?
I decided I'm going to read about this. So I read a few books about people who said that you can achieve your dreams, but the books made no sense to me. They didn't give me a nuts and bolts way to do it, and I'm that kind of a person. Tell me how, or don't say anything. You know, keep it to yourself. Unless you're going to tell me how to do it, then, you know, I don't need to read this. So I decided that I was going to give my own method a try, and I wanted to get out of this $30,000 debt. I wanted to get jobs as an actor. I wanted to get a new Jeep.
All right.
So I said, let me see if I could synthesize some of this mumbo jumbo that I'd been reading about and use what I felt was my focus, my ability to really discipline myself and focus my energy on something, which was a strength that I had had all my life. And I thought, well, I can be a very focused person at times, you know, to the exclusion of the rest of the world kind of thing.
For you.
In my own world, right. And I thought, that has to work in my favor somehow. And through a series of trial and error, I said, well, I'm going to try to meditate, because people had said meditation helps you to focus. And I thought, well, I can focus. Maybe I should do this meditate stuff and see if that works. And I came up with a way to focus my energy, and I began to feel stronger and stronger. It was sort of psyching myself out kind of thing.
How long did it take you?
It actually didn't take me very long. It took maybe about 2 weeks when I really got this thing down, and decided that I was going to use some kind of a method to focus my energy and will myself into these different advantageous situations.
So what did you do? You started
So I started meditating.
I started meditating.
I started with meditation, but I didn't know how to meditate. So all I did was really close my eyes and take 3 breaths and just put a thought into my head, because I had heard about this thing called visualization. That was kind of psychobabble in the 70s and 80s, and I thought, well, maybe I could use that. And I put an idea in my head when I went into this peaceful moment. I took 3 deep breaths.
Okay.
And I put a thought in my head.
So you just sat there
Yeah.
still. Did you do the yogi position that
No,
everybody's talking about?
nothing. You know, I said, because I was a novice. I didn't do any of the fancy schmancy stuff. I sat in a chair, and I had this determination. I was sick of my life, and I wanted more. So I closed my eyes, took 3 deep breaths,
All right.
and then I put in my head that I was going to get acting jobs. That
Now-
tomorrow I'm getting a job.
What did you just say? Tomorrow I'm getting a job,
Uh-huh.
and therefore a job came in?
Uh-huh. I
No,
know.
wait a minute, wait a
It
minute.
startles
Let's start this-
everybody.
Let's start this all over. You did some meditation, and
Yeah,
you took
focused.
You focused, you did meditation, and you said you want a job.
Mm-hmm.
And how long from the time you started to the time a job actually manifested?
2 days.
2 days.
Mm.
Did you have to do anything between the time that you were?
No. That's what was so bizarre about the whole thing. You know, it was astounding to me that I had just said to myself, beyond the shadow of a doubt, so I had some kind of a core belief
All right.
that it was going to happen because I had been sick of what was going on in my life prior to this. And I said, I've had enough. And I guess I got disgusted enough. You know, I tell people, you got to get disgusted enough to change your life. So I guess I was really angry enough with what had happened in my past to really say, no, if other people have it, I can have it, and I'm just going to will this to be. And I focused in that meditation, and I focused on that thought that I was going to, a job is coming to me. It's coming to me now.
How long did you sit in this meditation?
I think
position?
about, maybe 5-10 minutes.
And that was it?
Yeah,
And then everything manifested?
not everything. The
Okay.
first thing, it started slowly.
All
So
right.
the first thing that happened was I was going to my auditions, and 2 days later,
Right.
I had an audition, and of course I used to go to cattle calls because I didn't have an agent. So I was there 2 hours sitting, waiting. So I got a call back, and then I got a job. And I thought, whoa, could this possibly be because I was so determined the other day and I did this little ritual? Could it be that this? So I thought, well, let me try something else.
All right, so what'd you try the next time?
So the next thing I tried was the car, the Jeep. I said, I need a new car. So I said, if this thing works and I got this job, and then I could get a car, because that was the other thing that I really needed. I was prioritizing. Car, first job, then car, right?
Well, you needed wheels to get to the job.
Right, yeah. So I did something similar, but this time I said, I'm going to do this whole little thing. I didn't know
Right.
what to call it. A ritual was a word I hadn't used. And I said, I'm going to try this again with a different idea in my head. And I'm going to say, I have a brand new Jeep. And a brand new Jeep is coming to me now. And I said, I'm not going to doubt this for one moment, that this isn't possible in my life. I'm going to be absolutely certain that it's possible. And then I cut out a picture of a Jeep, the Jeep that I wanted, the black shiny Jeep that I always wanted. And I said, maybe I should do something, woo-woo, like people had done. So let me try a little woo-woo and light a candle. And I know I grew up Catholic, and in Catholic church, when you asked God for something or the universe for something, you lit a candle. So I said, well, let me light a candle. And I put the picture of the Jeep under the candle, and I sat in front of it, and I closed my eyes, and I said, a new black Jeep comes to me now. And I said this whole long thing. I can afford it. I can, I get it immediately. I can afford the Jeep, and I had no money. I had nothing. I mean, I had these once-in-a-while jobs, and I thought, I don't know how in the world I'm going to be able to finance this, but it's going to come.
But you had the belief, so that you...
I had the determination.
You had the determination. Okay, I want a Jeep. I have a Jeep. I have a shiny new Jeep, and it is here now.
It's just waiting for me to catch up with it.
It's just waiting for me to catch up with it.
Right.
Okay, I'll take a Mercedes.
All right, good. Because my next car is a Jaguar.
Oh,
I've been telling everyone.
I was going to say Jaguar, and I said, no, I don't want a Jaguar. I want a BMW or a Mercedes.
I've thought about it. My
That's
next is a
hysterical.
Jag.
Okay, all right. So
Whatever you want. Don't put any limitations on what you want.
you just Put it out there.
You put your faith and your determination behind it.
But if you don't really believe, I mean, it's just half-hearted, you're not going to get it, you'll get a half a car?
You don't have to believe, which is kind of interesting. You don't have to believe that it's going to happen.
All right.
But you have to not have doubt. There's a difference.
Okay, explain it.
Yeah. To believe in something is to say, oh, I believe I can get it. You know, you remember the Wizard of Oz, I do believe in ghosts, I do believe in ghosts. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this knowingness that removes doubt from your mind. You get to the point where you say, I've tried everything and it hasn't worked. So now I just have to expect something better. And you sort of change the tape in your subconscious mind. You change the tape that says, I can't do it, I can't have it, it never happened, all those negatives. And you have to repeat that and have that conviction that says, okay, I am going to receive this without a shadow of a doubt. You don't have to have much belief that it's going to happen, but you have to not doubt that it's possible.
So that's the key.
That's the key. You have to believe in the realm of all possibility. That's the
And
woo-woo
everybody
part.
can do this.
Anybody can do it. Everybody does it.
Everybody does it.
Everybody does. You go see a magic show, and
Right.
and you see, you know that this is an illusionist, but you believe that they can, you know, make that tiger disappear. You know, you just believe in something that you know is an illusion. Why can't you just have confidence in something that makes your life better? It's just a matter of being sure of yourself and determined.
All right, so we will say the We channel is going to pick up the Woman's Connection.
Yes.
I know this for a fact. I know this is coming.
Mm-hmm. It's already happening.
It's already happening.
You keep sending that message out, and then you'll be inviting me on the We channel.
You better believe it.
You keep that message going out there. That's exactly what I mean. You have that idea beyond the shadow of a doubt. If you have doubt, now, Barry, I have to tell you this.
Yeah.
If you have doubt, you shoot the whole Megillah right out the window.
So how do you prevent yourself from that little doubt voice coming?
And that's very common, very natural. There's a trick.
All right, what's the trick?
The trick is affirmations.
Affirmations, but
Yes.
are there keys to making an affirmation that will work?
Definitely.
All right.
Definitely. To remove the doubt, you have to change that tape. And the only way to change the tape in the subconscious is to allow the conscious mind to put a different message in there. So what you're doing with your conscious mind by writing an affirmation, and you must write it down because
Okay, not typing it?
you can type it, it's
Oh,
fine,
okay.
as long as it's in writing so that another of your senses can absorb it. You want to
Right.
get it into as many senses as you possibly can. So if you say it, you see it in writing, you say it to yourself, and you believe it, and you hear yourself saying it. It's all of your energy focusing on the idea that you are going to change that doubt to confidence. And you can say an affirmation that removes the doubt. I remove all doubt to my achieving what I want in this life.
Oh, good.
You got to get rid of that doubt
Okay,
first.
so now we have the doubt affirmation.
Right. And
Beautiful.
there's a chapter in my book that has 100 affirmations, and one of them is to remove doubt, or what we call in this business blocks. So if you have a little nagging doubt, it means you're blocked in some way. And blocks are usually fears. So you may not even be conscious of the fact that you're not manifesting what you want in your life because there's something fearful about it in your consciousness.
So how do we get rid of the fear?
With the affirmation,
All right.
you remove fear, you remove doubt. Do that first.
Now are going to get rid of the doubt.
Yes.
Okay.
The
what's
affirmation.
The affirmation is again?
Well, you can say, I now remove
I now remove
all doubt,
all doubt,
all fear,
all fear,
and all blocks
all blocks
to achieving
to achieving
all that I want
all that I want and deserve
deserve in this lifetime.
in this lifetime. I like that.
See,
That's a
now,
nice one.
and you help to write it. You see, I give you guidelines in the book on how to do this because
Right.
most people really don't know how to do it. But I encourage people to put in the terminology that makes you comfortable. So you can use my guidelines or you can use the affirmations I've written and you can adjust them. to use words that make you feel more confident. So I would get rid of that first.
All right.
And then once you feel confident, now that could take 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day. It could happen that quickly.
So do you say it over and over again?
Uh-huh.
All right.
As many times as you choose, but I always advise at least 3 times a day, but you can say them whenever you feel that doubt creeping up. Whenever you think about how do I want my future to be, and you feel that terrible feeling in the stomach that's rumbling and you're feeling a little anxious, whenever you feel that coming on, you say that affirmation as though you were taking a pill. And you say it until you no longer feel that way when you think about your future.
Beautiful.
And it works. You see, that's really the most amazing part of it. That's how powerful your mind is.
How did you feel when you discovered you had these gifts within yourself?
Well, I was astounded. You know, I was going to be an actor. You know, this was my life, you know. And I never really thought that I was going to pursue any other path, let alone a spiritual path. Never expected to be an author or even to achieve a PhD. These were not things in my mind. What was in my mind was simply to be in the theater, and that was it.
And to get enough cash to
go back to the theater, right.
And pay for your Jeep.
I pay for the Jeep. And I always said that, you know, well, I'll try this method so that I make enough money in the bank so that I can, you know, continue to go to auditions and, you know, do that. I never really thought it was going to go any further. And then I started to tell people about how I achieved these things.
And so you started with your classes?
Yeah, and I started teaching people because people said, now, how did that happen? You had no money and you end up with a new Jeep, you know? And I told the whole story and I said, you know, if I can do this, you can do this. And that was really the confidence that I felt. And people said, well, tell me how to do it. And pretty much I told them what I'm telling you. Mm-hmm. And they said, you should write this down so people can, you know, understand it and make it easy on them. And I said, you know, that's a good idea.
So that's how to get everything you ever wanted.
That's how it began. Yeah.
That's beautiful because it's a great book. I've never seen
Thank
anything
you.
so detailed.
Yes.
And how to write the affirmations, how to do the visualizations.
It's nuts and bolts. You know, I used to be a high school teacher. I taught drama in high school and English. And I was used to teaching step by step by step. And I had read all of these books that were very esoteric in nature and, you know, they're really out there. And I thought, this is just not practical for the average person. You know, it might be great for an intellectual who has an advanced knowledge or advanced intelligence, but what about everyone else?
Layperson.
Yeah. And I thought, no, this has to be understandable, and if anybody can make it understandable, it's a high school teacher.
You also mentioned something about an altar. You create a special place for your altar. What makes it so important to have an altar?
An altar is simply a sacred space where no one else has access, where it is yours and yours alone. It can be mobile. I even talk about in the book how it can be a box that you keep all of your sacred instruments in, like a candle holder and, you know, a pad if you want to write an affirmation and matches or whatever. And then you turn the box over, put the candle on top of it. You know, it can be anywhere, anything, as long as it is special and sacred to you and no one else has access to it. And the reason for the altar, you can do all of this without the altar. You can do all of this without the affirmations. But we need, as human beings, a point of focus.
So that's the purpose of an altar?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you also talk about in your book reflections and affirmations. What are reflections?
Yes. In my second book, I talk about reflections and affirmations.
Okay, and that's the 10 spiritual steps to a magical life.
Yes, that differs from the first book in that the second book is really about how to live a great life overall. The first is how to get things, how to get what you want, The second is really how to live that life every day, how to live a joyful, abundant, prosperous, loving life. It's all-encompassing.
All right, then let's start at the beginning.
Right.
What are the 10 spiritual steps?
Well, the 10 steps are kind of, you know, long. The process is long in there. To go into it might be take up too much of our time. But let me say that I had to synthesize into 10 ideas for people to understand so that they could, again, focus their brain. I did the same thing in the first book in 6 steps to manifesting. And they're just blurb words like invoke it, proclaim it, things that help you to remember what to do. And in 10 spiritual steps, it's the same thing, but the sentences are a little longer. One of the steps is find your mentors. You know, the steps are really soul-searching steps. They're steps that tell you to move forward in your life, to focus your life, to have what you want. One of the steps is be grateful. So it's really important to be grateful for the life that you already have now before you can have one that's better.
So you say, thank you, God, for the beautiful life I'm living?
Yes, even though you don't think you're living it yet.
Oh, okay.
You see? So the 10 steps go into more depth, but I want to give you some overview of the steps, but they're practical steps. They're easy steps. They're things that make sense. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to buy anything or, you know, go anywhere. This is all in your mind and in your heart. And the affirmations in that book then there's one at the end of each chapter that encourages a person to move forward to the next step. Believe that you can have a wonderful life. You have to believe it. That's the key. And believing in the realm of all possibilities is what I'm talking about. You don't have to believe in, you know, hocus pocus or anything like that.
Well, talking about hocus pocus, you're also a hypnotherapist?
Yes, yeah.
Now, let's see. How did you go from being a disbeliever to a hypnotherapist?
Well, you know, I had a spiritual experience.
Oh.
And I was at the Jersey Shore, and I'll make this as short as possible, but I began to hear a voice that was a discarnate voice, and I thought, I am truly out of my mind. I'm truly nuts, because I was an academician. I was not the type of person that even believed in any of it. And the voice that I heard told me that I had great work to do, and I needed to work with this voice. And I was with a girlfriend of mine who was really into the whole psychic thing. And she said, I think I know what's happening. I think you're talking to a spirit. I went, oh, what? You know, I don't want to talk to a spirit. But I just said, well, if this is a spirit, it doesn't feel weird. It kind of feels like just somebody else in the room talking.
But wait a minute. How did she know there was a spirit in the room?
Because I heard it. And I told her.
Oh, you told her.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I said, I hear a voice. There's a guy. I hear a guy's voice. I thought it was in the next. We were in a hotel, one of those chintzy hotels down in Jersey. No offense, Jersey. But it was, the walls are thin.
Right.
So I thought I was hearing the guy next door. I said, do you hear that? Do you hear that guy? She said, what guy? I said, I hear this guy. He's saying hello. She said, you do? You hear that? You hear something? I don't hear anything. And then she, because she was such a psychic junkie, she put it together. I had no clue. And she said, I think I know what's going on. And she told me to close my eyes and see if I still heard the voice. And I did. And she said, talk to it. I said, talk to it? She said, yeah, ask it who it is. Oh, I was terrified because I thought, this is too spooky for words.
So what was his name?
Roger.
Roger.
Roger Smith. He told me.
That sounds like an alias.
Yeah, doesn't it? He told me that we were actors together in another lifetime.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Right. And he described it. He described who I was in that lifetime. He gave me all this information, and he said, I have other things to tell you right now that you need to tell your friend. And she was in the room, and that way you'll know it's for real. You know, he wanted to make sure that I believed it. And he gave me this vision. I saw something. You know, my eyes were wide open, and in my mind's eye, I could see something. And I saw this man behind the desk. And I described this man to my friend, and she just was aghast. She went, oh, I know who that is. That's so-and-so. And I had never met him. And she said, look at the desk. Can you see the desk? My friend was really into it. Could you see the desk he's sitting at? Do you see a calendar? And I saw a calendar, and she said, what's the date? And I said the date, and another gasp. And she said, that's the day he's supposed to come back to New York.
Oh, how interesting.
And so it was really for her to get me to believe that what was actually happening was some kind of mysterious contact.
So you've had the spirit, and has Roger been with you the rest of this
Yes.
time?
Yeah, the whole time.
What would you like to leave the audience with?
I always say this, and I really appreciate the opportunity to say this. Thank you. If I can leave anyone with any thought, it is to have the belief in the fact that you can live the life of your dreams. The life that you really truly want is within your grasp, and you just need to have faith in yourself and in the universe that it is waiting for you, and you can live the life you have imagined. So if I leave anybody with anything, it's the hope and the promise that they can have a better life.
Adrian, thank you so much for
you're
joining
welcome.
me. It's
You're
been
welcome.
wonderful.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
Good. It's been quite an education here.
And I'll see you on the We channel.
Yes, absolutely. And are you leading the life that you want to lead?